Hello and welcome back to a new Kerbal Space Program Career Mode episode. And immediately, as always, almost already a ritual, we are launching off with our first orbital curve capable of rocket. In the first episode we only established a suborbital mission, and this time we're going to a full-blown orbit. And later on we will even do the first steps in exploring the moon without getting any new research points out of this mission. They were really consecutively launched, so there's nothing in between. Anyways, now talking about our launch profile, a pretty good launch profile, however not the best I can do. It was, well, first of all I had more than enough fuel, and secondly, yeah, first of all we had a lot of fuel, and the other part is I didn't really, well, I was a little bit afraid of pitching too hard because of the max Q scene, well, where the aerodynamic forces could have turned the rocket apart since we were not using any fins to stabilize it at the bottom end of it. However, it went pretty well, as you could see. Now, already on a suborbital trajectory, trying to circulate 200 meters from orbit, no, 100 meters. However, I will time warp to get a little bit, well, more circular orbit. And as you obviously can see, the whole footage is sped up a little bit, because sitting through this launch is probably pretty boring. Anyways, here we have contract completed, achieved goal around, well, orbit Kerbin, and of course a milestone. On top of that, I added a Science Junior Bay to this mission, well, to this orbiter, and now taking of course a few screenshots for the thumbnail and my Instagram. So for those who want to check me out on Instagram, I also post a few other channel related posts, like for example my equipment. I bought a joystick. I didn't have a joystick for Dangerous before, so there are images of it. Anyways, that's not too important. I think I'll leave a Instagram link down in the comment and the description box, so if you want to check it out, I always appreciate more people. Anyways, yes, where was I? Yeah, of course, the Science Junior Bay. So I tried, well, I've never used the Science Junior Bay in space, so getting choose science is always a good thing. Now detaching this stage and the orbiting, well, coming down here. It took quite some time. Well, it was just a normal descent, of course. It always takes some time, so having sped up footage and speeding it up in game is also pretty comfortable, especially for you, the viewers. You can just lean back and enjoy the beautiful re-entry heating, how everything's almost burning with the plasma probably. Anyway, so by the way, for those who don't know, this is not quite the real animation, because if you are re-entering the atmosphere, there is some sort of, well, there's aero cushion in front of your craft, and because you're pushing all those, the air in front of you, the air can get around, and then it's not your craft that is burning, but the air that you're pushing, like in front of you, is the part that is glowing and burning and heating everything up and becoming to probably plasma stage. Though the thing with the Science Junior, well, as you will see right now, yeah, there you go, didn't work out quite well, so it got destroyed on touchdown, even though I attached 2 parachutes. Anyways, maximizing our science gain from here, using the, well, getting out of the capsule, getting in, and doing a crew report, recovering, and we get a few, like, some science back, however not nearly enough to get anything new. Well, we're just 2 science points away, so I could in theory go, oh, and by the way, of course, Jebediah got leveled up. And now here we go to explore the moon. Let's check it out. Fly by the moon and return from flyby by the moon. So this will be the more interesting part of our today's episode, and we'll definitely do that. Well, if it works, that is. And you guys will see whether it will work or not. But first of all, let's go into the detectory. Let's see what do we have here. Well, what's interesting, what is, well, At this point, I think at the moment we could either get go out for a tiny mission to get 2 more science points and then unlock one of those 3 remaining 45 science tiers, or we could just save up another, well, another 45 or 47 now, 47 science points to get in one of those bigger 90 tiers, like 90 science point tiers, and then we'll need to upgrade our building, the R&D lab, yes, R&D lab, in order to unlock the next few things. So as you can see, the R&D lab costs 600, and the astronaut complex, which is pretty interesting because we can perform EVAs in space, and that is more science and a rather secure way in getting science, because then we won't have to bring the science junior back. Only the Kerbal who took the data out of the science junior. Anyways, now let's upgrade our orbiter 1 into something better and something more moon capable. Here we are, back on the launch pad with a slightly improved orbiter 1. It's almost the same rocket. There are only 2 changes. One of them is I took the science junior and have placed it below the capsule, so it will not return to the surface, so we'll just dump it, and added 2 mystery goo containers to increase our science scale. And now, as always, boosts separation. And now continuing on with a slightly, well, not slightly, but with a more interesting, or not interesting, not bad, more efficient approach, now turning earlier, going down towards the 45 degree marker on the nav ball, of course that is. So they are more or less, if I'm already talking about a good or not too bad is more appropriate way, a not too bad approach in getting into orbit. There are the gravity turn option, where you all the time slightly decrease your pitch towards the horizon until you get pretty high into suborbital trajectory, and then preferably you level up almost the moment where you hit the suborbital mark, which we hit right now, at least the apoapsis has hit it. Or the other way is, which is way easier, especially for beginners, so if you're new to this game, I would recommend you doing that way, is you fly more or less straight up until 10 to 13 kilometers. That's where the thickest part of the atmosphere is over, and then you won't have to struggle as much with the atmosphere and the aerodynamic stability once you cross that line. And then you can go into a 45 degree angle and then just continue accelerating until you get suborbital, and then pop out of the atmosphere and circularize there, like I do now. Well, if my stage would have had the fuel, that is. Anyways, now back to now onto the second stage with the same amount of fuel we had in the first time, and accelerating force 4 times the regular speed so that the burn is done faster. And as you could see, there was the science junior bay, not quite the same place as it was earlier. Now just finishing our orbit at 70, more or less, I guess. Now we want to get to the moon. There we have the moon. So we will now use a pretty easy trick, but since we don't have any tracking station upgrades, we can say whether we will hit the sphere of influence of the moon, and therefore we'll be able to navigate and get to the moon at all. And we can't plan maneuver nodes either, so that's kind of a handicap. However, here's the trick: you more or less wait on your orbit until you can see on the horizon the moon. I didn't wait now because I checked it on the map screen, as you can see right there, though I will probably not share the map screen anymore. And then you can just accelerate until you get the apoapsis around the up to the moon, and then it's more or less done. You just fly up, and then you're pretty sure, probably, the probability is pretty high. And now I overdid it, and as you can see, I especially opened up the fuel window to see how much fuel we still had remaining, in order to, well, if we wouldn't have enough fuel, that I didn't overdo it and still had enough fuel to return, well, yeah, the orbit, the craft that is, yeah. And I accidentally, at the last few seconds, I accelerated the acceleration. There you go. Nice English. Anyways, now back to the footage on the screen. Because as you can see now, in space high above Cube, I take EVA reports, crew reports, temperature reports, and one of the mystery goo containers. And I probably took it, didn't I? No, I will do it right now. So, in order to get all the juicy signs out of this biome that we can do at the moment, and except the Science Junior, of course, because we can only use the Science Junior once. And of course, and some of you probably already know, the further out you go from Kerbin, the more science you get for the experiments you do. So, performing the Science Junior in around the moon is more interesting, or gives me more science out of it, instead of doing it in around high orbit. Even though high orbit is pretty good, and we'll definitely visit high orbit again, probably as a side show on the next episode. But anyways, now we entered the sphere of influence of the moon, and we are there at the moon. We did it! Nice! Now the only problem left, or the only problem is, that you guys probably can already think about, or have at least spared one or two thoughts, is not that we won't have enough time to collect our lovely science data, of course. No, but that we are pretty short on fuel. We have only 17 units of liquid fuel, I guess. Now we're just EVA, so we're out in EVA, so I can't see the fuel count. That's not convenient at this moment. But now we are going to board again after we took all the science data from the barometer, then probably also from the goo container. Yes, of course, the goo container. The goo container gives pretty good science readings, and it's pretty light and easy to mount with those, well, just mounted on the side. Anyways, Jebediah is doing very good. He's doing his job very good. Somewhere, yeah. As you can see now, we are just floating right to our spaceship, turning around our lovely Kerbal, taking a screenshot from with Jebediah, our ship, and the moon. You will see this also on Instagram. Wow, two times I mentioned Instagram in one video. That's kind of unexpected. Anyways, we have 17 units of oxidizer and 14 units of fuel, and we have a periapsis of 1.4 million meters. That's not good. That's not good. That's, yeah. So we are extremely short on fuel, and I was a little bit panicking at this moment. So you will just see in 1 second why I was even panicking. Now even scrolling to get right to the apoapsis, because burning retrograde to the orbit yourself at the apoapsis is the most efficient thing you can do. The same thing is to accelerate in at apoapsis, periapsis, my bad. So in shorter terms, accelerating at the lowest point of your orbit is, and then, well, accelerating, of course, I mean, that is the most efficient way in gaining speed, and decelerating at the highest point, where you're the slowest. I think I might do once a video on orbital mechanics, but that's, well, still far away. I'm taking another beautiful screenshot with all our lovely planetary bodies, and now we're going to re-enter, but since it took a lot of passes, since our orbit was very high, I decided to cut everything out, since there were around 4 passes, and that's pretty, well, 4 passes are not really interesting for you to watch. This was around half an hour just at the orbiting part, or at least 20 minutes, so I couldn't really give you 20 minutes of just flying in circles around Kerbin. That's just pretty boring. So anyways, we got 170 science points out of it, and now we can check out our R&D, well, our research things, and let's see what we can get. First of all, precise propulsion looks pretty interesting with all those small engines and tanks. Space exploration is not so interesting. Miniaturization well, we could get docking ports. That's interesting, and some smaller parts. And electronics gives us solar panels and fuel lights, and also a better probe core. Later we could go to precise engineering or the other electricity thing, or of course heavy rocketry, with bigger rockets, better rockets. But propulsion systems kind of looks interesting, isn't it? So with the science we have, we can get either 2 times one of the big ones, or so yeah. I decided to go for the electricity to get the probe core and the propulsion system to start building satellites. And with satellites we can build some pretty interesting things. So I'm pretty sure I'll do something without Kerbal, so only probe control in the next episode, but I'm not quite sure at this moment. Anyways, that was it. Now just taking those flight controls, and yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, Spaceship out.